Travel west from the Riviera, from the lavender fields and hilltop villages, and you'll find yourself in the Languedoc. Vineyards blanket the undulating hills, pines throw out their scent, and stretches of white sand tease the eye. Cathar castles punctuate, and towns and villages captivate, whilst the Canal du Midi meanders on by. Welcome back to Lost in the Languedoc. Tucked away in the Hérault, between the Mediterranean coast and the vineyards of the Languedoc, Pézenas sits at an interesting crossroads. It's not quite a seaside town, and it's not really a village of the hinterland either. Instead, it occupies that very Languedoc position between the two, close enough to the coast to feel Mediterranean, but far enough inland to retain the character of an old provincial town. And this is a place with a surprisingly big history. Pézenas has ancient origins, but its importance really grew during the Middle Ages, when it became an important centre for trade and fairs. By the 13th century, the town was part of a network of major annual fairs, bringing merchants and visitors into the city. And then, centuries later, Pézenas entered something of a golden age. During the 16th and 17th centuries, the town became closely associated with the powerful Montmorency family, governors of Languedoc. Wealthy families built elegant residences here, and Pézenas became a place where politics, commerce, and aristocratic life all came together. The legacy of that period is still written into the town. But there is another name that has become almost inseparable from Pézenas: Molière. The man who would become Molière spent several periods here in the 1650s with his theatre troupe. He performed for the estates of Languedoc and came under the protection of the Prince of Conti, an important patron of the arts. Molière was born in Paris, of course, but Pézenas likes to say that this is where Molière was born as an artist. And once you start walking through the old town, it's not difficult to understand why that idea has stuck. The historic centre of Pézenas feels almost theatrical. You enter through narrow streets and suddenly the modern world seems to disappear. The buildings rise tightly on either side of you, stone facades, old doorways, wrought iron balconies and carved details appear around every corner. Some streets are barely wide enough for a car, and then suddenly they open onto a little square. Pézenas isn't simply a preserved historic centre, it feels lived in. Walk through the old streets and you'll find antiques, furniture, jewellery, ceramics, sculpture, glass, textiles and all kinds of curious objects spilling out from the tiny workshops. This is where Pézenas gets its slightly bohemian character. The town has a long association with artists and craftspeople, and today dozens of artisans work from the historic centre. The result is a slightly unusual combination, centuries-old architecture providing the backdrop for contemporary creativity. And somewhere between the old mansions, the artists' workshops, the cafes and the impossibly narrow streets, you begin to understand why Pézenas has managed to preserve something that many historic towns lose: a sense of personality. So if you're travelling through the Languedoc, Pézenas is well worth leaving the main roads for. Come for Molière, come for the architecture, come for the antiques and the artists, but mostly come with nowhere else you need to be, because Pézenas is at best when you stop trying to find your way and you simply get a little lost and you find a little wonder and you really soak in that feeling of the south of France.